What is going on, guys? My name is Senna, and welcome to my beginner's guide to MiSide Speedrunning on patch 0.93. The reason why I even feel compelled to make a guide in the first place is because I see a lot of new runners coming into the community and not understanding how anything works or how to get better at speedrunning, and I and many other runners get questions like this all the time. This video aims to include everything you need to know to get started as a beginner and get you on the right track to improve quickly, so I can just link this video to anybody who asks me or other runners questions on either how to get started or tips on how to improve at speedrunning. Before I actually start to give you advice, I should at least explain who I am to give advice, because advice coming from a credible source is always going to be more helpful. My name is Senna, and I've been speedrunning MiSide for about 3 months, starting in late December during patch 0.921, only a couple weeks after the game was first released. I've achieved a decent amount of world records during my time speedrunning this game, and every single one of my runs on patch 0.93 are top 3 at the very least for every ending, category, and level. My speedrun.com profile is SennaYT, and I'm not a perfect player by any means, but I'd argue I'm top 2 on 0.93. I believe that with the runs I have been able to accomplish, I'm qualified to help you not only get started, but also improve much quicker than the average runner. With all of that being said, let's get into the video. The first important thing to cover is speedrun.com, as this is the website where all of the runs are submitted and displayed. In order to submit a run, just navigate over to whatever category your run contains and press submit, and you can also change the category on the submit page as well. It's important to note that speedrun.com has its own set of rules that you must abide by in order for your run to be allowed on leaderboards. By clicking on the Show Rules button, you can see all of the rules that you must follow, and then by clicking on Category Rules, you can see the start and end times for each category. For example, in a normal ending speedrun of the game, the time the run starts is the first frame that iHosto presents is visible, and ends at the first frame that the safe is visible at the very end of the game. Following the speedrun.com rules is mandatory, as failing to do so could lead to your runs getting rejected or even getting your account banned in extreme cases, like if you're cheating. The main thing you'll need is a timer on screen. Live Split Timer is the easiest and best to use, so I would recommend using that. It's very easy to download and set up, and you can also set your own custom keybinds to start and stop the timer. Just make sure that you have global hotkeys enabled so you can start and end it while you're still tabbed into the game. Input overlays and hand cams are optional and not required, but will help you in proving your legitimacy should an issue come up during verification. Issues like this rarely happen if you aren't actually cheating, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, but it's something I tend to include in my runs anyways, just in case. In terms of actual gameplay, the most significant and important difference between 0.93 and the previous versions that came before it was the addition of the skip dialogue command. To activate it, you will need to open the in-game console. This can be done by pressing the tilde key on your keyboard. It will be under your escape key on a full-size keyboard, but if you have a 60% keyboard like I do, holding down your function key and pressing escape will open it. Once you have it open, type skip dialogue all in one word and press enter. What this does is it will make every line of dialogue in the game skippable by simply pressing the spacebar. This is mandatory for achieving a top run and is the first thing you should do before getting into actually learning how to speedrun the game. It's also important to note that every time you close the game and reopen it, you will have to re-enter this command for it to take effect. However, Slice, a talented modder in the community, developed a speedrun mod that makes the game remember your decision permanently, so you will only need to enter it once and never again. I will leave a link to the mod in the description of this video in case you want to check it out. This leads me to my next point, which is your spacebar HPS. HPS stands for hits per second and is the number of times you're able to press space in a second, similar to CPS for mouse clicks. How high your spacebar HPS is will directly correlate to how fast you will be skipping through dialogue. Since the rate at which you can skip through dialogue is uncapped, having a higher HPS than another runner will inherently give you an advantage. If you're using a membrane keyboard that doesn't have rapid trigger, you are unfortunately at a disadvantage against other runners that do. Don't let this discourage you though, as there are countless other things that determine the time of a run outside of raw dialogue skipping speed. I also feel like it's important to mention that you are not allowed to use a macro for spacebar or DKS or any type of macro that makes you click space more times than you actually are. Quick side note if you're interested, there is a category extension for MiSide on speedrun.com for a mod called Cappy Mod. Cappy Mod is a mod for the game that will automatically skip all of the dialogue in the game at a fixed rate, so those with low-end keyboards are at fair play against those who do have rapid trigger ones. I'm currently the only one who submitted a run there, so feel free to try to beat my time. The next point I feel is important to touch on are Softlocks. With the introduction of skip dialogue, you will run into a few Softlocks throughout the game which will kill your run if you press space to skip dialogue in certain sections of the game. This is a result of the skip dialogue feature being heavily untested by the devs, but all of the Softlocks are very easy to avoid once you understand where they are. There are 3 main Softlocks throughout the game that you need to be aware of. These are the Kind Mita Ring Softlock, the Sleepy Mita Chair Softlock, and the Core Mita Softlock. For the Kind Mita Ring Softlock, after giving the ring to Kind Mita, if you spam while she is still in the animation of taking it, the door to Cappy's room will be stuck open and the ring timer won't start, ending the run right then and there. To avoid this, simply wait until you regain control of the player after giving her the ring to mash space. This will ensure that you don't get softlocked here. The next one is the Sleepy Mita Softlock. When Sleepy Mita sits down on the chair and falls asleep, if you text mash here while waking her up, you will be stuck in place after she gets up and be unable to move, again ending the run. To avoid this one, similarly, just wait a couple seconds after interacting with her to wake up to start mashing, and there should be no problem in avoiding it. The final major softlock is with Core Mita. When Core Mita throws you out of the core, if you start mashing space in the animation of getting up, you will teleport back into the core room with no way out. To avoid this, just wait until you regain control of the player to begin mashing. You don't need to be mashing space here anyways, so you won't lose any time in the run by not tech skipping since you are in an animation anyways. The next 3 sections of this video are going to be focused on how to improve quickly as a speedrunner, and I'm sure that you will gain a lot of value from this. This first section is going to be about your raw skill and how to improve your raw skill quickly in MiSide Speedrunning. I'm about to give you my personal advice, and this is in no way the correct or right approach, but I can say that from my experience, it has helped me improve quicker than almost every single runner I've seen. Do level runs and use them as practice for full runs before actually committing to grinding out full runs. For those of you who aren't aware, level runs are speedruns of specific chapters in the game, like the Sleepy Mita chapter or Mila chapter, for example. There is a level category on speedrun.com where you can see all of the level runs. Each level is a small section of the full game, so what I did is I grinded every level and got a good time on every single one of them to make sure I understood the optimal strategy for every section of the game. Doing this makes practicing more straightforward and easy, turning practice into bite-sized chunks, like today I'm gonna get good at the first level, tomorrow I'm gonna get good at the second level, and so on and so forth. Then when it came time to do a full run, all I needed to do was just chain all of the levels I practiced together and do them back to back in a gauntlet-like format, which is exactly what a full run is. I can guarantee you that using this strategy for improvement will help you improve quicker than just grinding only full runs and hoping that the next one is going to be faster. While you're going through each of these levels practicing them, you'll most likely quickly realize how big of an impact RNG really has on the time of a run. Certain levels like Beyond the World and Run and Hide are almost purely RNG luck based, and there is very little skill actually involved in getting a good time on these levels. As unfortunate as it is, RNG plays a huge factor on the time of a run, and sometimes bad RNG is enough to kill a run on its own. Resetting during the first half of the game due to bad RNG is pretty common for top runners, but I wouldn't recommend doing this until you're going for a personal best after you have a few runs under your belt. In terms of improving your knowledge at speedrunning the game, my best advice is to watch top runners and pay attention to what they're doing. Watch Panzer's runs, watch my runs, or watch anybody with a good time for the level or category you want to speedrun. What I did when I first started speedrunning this game was overanalyzing every single little thing a top runner was doing and comparing it to what I do. This is how I learned about the third battery teleport in the first chapter of the game and the tiny meter grab skip in the loot chapter, for example, but there's countless other ones as well. If I went over every single little skip in the game in this video, we would be sitting here for hours, but watching top runs will let you see what you're doing wrong, and I cannot recommend this enough. This ties back to the last section, where doing this with level runs makes it so much easier, since the runs are only a couple minutes long rather than watching an entire hour-long run. Pick a level you want to get good at, watch the top runs for that level, and then try to copy what they're doing for that run, and rinse and repeat for every level until you know the optimal strategy for every level, which is the whole game. Otherwise, you'll just be blindly trying to get through the game as fast as possible and have no idea about the skips and time saves that you aren't taking advantage of and missing out on, losing you time in the run. My final and perhaps most important piece of advice is to have fun learning and running the game and to keep a positive mentality. I used to have so much fun running and learning the game back when I first started, but as I started to take it more seriously and start to go for world records, the smallest things going wrong in a run would make me frustrated, and I found myself more miserable playing the game than actually enjoying it like I used to. Pacing yourself and taking breaks is important. You aren't just going to start running the game and immediately become one of the best overnight. Improvement takes time. Make sure you're having fun along the way and doing runs for your own enjoyment and satisfaction in seeing yourself improve. Going for runs solely to impress others or get views on YouTube won't get you very far. Enjoying the process and making friends along the way is a great way to continue to stay motivated and will help you improve faster and make it more satisfying in the long run. There you guys have it. That is my beginner's guide to speedrunning MiSide. With all of the information I gave you in this video, you should now be ready to get started in speedrunning this game. It's truly an amazing game to speedrun, and I'm so grateful for all of the amazing people I've met in such a short time in this community. If you have any questions or concerns you want to ask me about, feel free to leave them in the comment section so I or others can help you out. Thank you so much for watching this video, and happy speedrunning.